Okay, hi everyone. I'm Melissa, and I'm gonna walk you through doing a Linocut carving. I'm doing this one of Toothless for my dad's birthday card, and then I might make some stickers. Um, so I start off with a sketch, and then I transfer that sketch to the lino block. I'm using Speedy Carve, well, kind of like a knockoff of Speedy Carve. It's a little cheaper, but same thing. It's kind of like a rubbery pink surface. And I do my sketch in graphite, like normal pencil, and I tape it to the block, and then I have to like kind of put some force onto it to transfer the design. I just use the old spoon. And then I'm gonna go in my box cutter, and I just kind of cut pretty close to where the drawing is so I can preserve some extra material for some like smaller stamps later. I am not like super precise with this at this point because I can go back in later with an X-Acto knife. This is mostly just about saving whatever extra chunks I can. Also, sorry my hair keeps like dipping in. Like I have bad eyesight, so I need to like get close sometimes. You're gonna see that happen later, I'm sure of it. But yeah, I'm just doing that. This is my first video that I'm like doing a voiceover for, so hopefully it's not garbage and hopefully I can help teach you something. So yeah, I have this kind of like starter kit of tools. It's just like the speedball lino carving thing. And I always start with the like smallest little nib. It comes with 3 different sizes. You can kind of see the other sizes over there by the spoon. But yeah, I go in with the smallest one, and I start just kind of tracing around the design. And it's kind of like a slow process, but I like this part of the process. It's really like calming and chill. And for this stamp, there's a lot of like white space in the drawing, which I like, but the Night Furies are like all dark. Well, at least Toothless is, so that's all going to be left in the kind of like original height that the stamp is, so I'm not carving in. I'm just going to leave that, and it'll become covered in ink and will be dark when I stamp it later. But yeah, oh my god, my hair is like so in the way. Anyway, yeah. This process is like a little slow. This video is like 30 minutes long, but I wanted to leave it like at true speed so you guys can see how I'm working and kind of know how long it takes. Again, I'm so sorry about my hair. This is kind of embarrassing. I'll find a workaround for another video. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about myself like a little bit, just kind of like ASMR as you're watching this carving video. But yeah, so I'm Alyssa. I went to school for animation, and I worked at Pixar for a few years after school. And then I kind of shifted into doing more printmaking and comic stuff. So right now I'm working on a graphic novel. It's like a sci-fi and really cool. And aside from that, being like my main professional thing that I'm doing like a little Riso printed mini comic about these like little devilish little imps that are really pissed off about their landlord, and it's like an analogy for sending an angry email is like them making this potion that they're gonna curse him with, but they have this spell book that speaks reason to them. And yeah, it's just like a cute little thing. It's like 32 pages, 34 pages, and I'm gonna be printing that soon. Yeah, returning to what I'm doing here. Yeah, here I'm carving out the eyes, which is always like super stressful because it's like you don't want to mess those up because the eyes are the the windows to the soul. I kind of do mess it up on the first pass, and later you'll see me going in and tweaking it later. Yeah, there's a lot of just like thinking involved. It's really peaceful. For a minute there I was like, oh, should I do like a little smile on Toothless, or like his little nose, his little nostrils, but then I decided against it. Just keep it simple. Yeah, a lot of the carving, because you don't want to like slip and cut yourself, I tend to rotate the block more than I'm rotating my hand, and I'm kind of like generally pretty steady with my like carving tool hand, and I'm kind of pushing the medium like against it, and I'm just being really careful. I have cut myself with the little knife before, not too badly, but don't want it to happen again. Okay, yeah, here's where I go in with a pencil for a second. I draw in a little bit of a mouth, and I'm like, is that good? Should I do that? And then I'm like, nah. Yeah. What part am I doing next? Where was I? Oh yeah, and then I'm carving out some negative space here for the wing, because with this type of printing, it's kind of just all one color, unless you're kind of like cutting it up or you're making like additional stamps to make layers. But for this one specifically, it's just going to be black ink, so I need to cut out negative space and think of what the final piece is going to be in regards of like what the shapes are and what the form is, instead of what the line art is. And I feel like I generally think about things in a very like line work way, so this is a bit of a challenge to make sure that your design is going to read when all of this like nuance of your sketch is gone. So that's why like adding the negative space is good. And then here I start like carving around the wing. My sketch wasn't like super precise. It was actually like pretty loose. Sometimes I carve with a very tight sketch, and sometimes I just like to feel it out. This one I was doing like really casually, so I kept it super loose. Also, sometimes when I'm carving something that's like I don't know, like it has more like limbs, like it's an animal or something, and there's like a lot of these like shapes that I'm not like used to drawing, because I'm not drawing like animals and dragons like all the time. Sometimes I just kind of keep it looser, and I try to find it in the carving a little bit, which I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to work, but yeah. I feel like because of my sketch isn't like super confident, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I'll just figure it out later. And here I am figuring it out later. These little tail things, I was looking at a picture of Toothless on my laptop, and his tail has like the little prosthetic. So I was looking at what that looked like, and then in the reference picture I was like, oh, his tail is like a little differently shaped than what I had drawn. So I was trying to capture that more accurately. So yeah, a lot of people put like a glaze or something like with paint or ink over their carving medium, so when they carve into it they can more clearly see their cuts, which is very smart, but I haven't tried that before. I kind of just go with my pencil, and also like my pencil kind of smudges around and does a similar effect anyway. So yeah, here I am doing the other side of the tail, making sure that it looks good and matches. Also, like sometimes doing like really sharp points with the Linocut is a little hard. You kind of have to like, you're not cutting like the cut that you're making is not the point. The point is what you're leaving behind. And sometimes if you're not thinking about that well enough, your like pointy thing ends up a lot shorter and not as pointy as you mean for it to be, which has happened to me a few times. And here I'm going in and like I'm checking my work by kind of like shading in the raised area just to see what that shape looks like. Yep, pointy enough. Yeah. Checking something on my computer. Probably this is where I was looking at the design for the tail. Yeah, I was seeing where that like middle line is, like where the prosthetic like attaches, so. My freaking hair! Oh my god. My apologies. Okay, yeah, so I kind of hollow out that area because it's going to be lighter because the tail is like red. So I'm going to leave that lighter, and I draw like a little sketch in to mark off where the little like Viking design is on the tail. And then I'm kind of like going in and like winging it a little bit, just trying to get the design. Because when you're working so small like this with the Linocut tool, you can only get so much detail. Like you kind of have to just get the gist of it. I think it came out pretty clear though. Happy with how that came out. Yeah, well, if you have any questions about lino cutting and stuff, definitely leave a comment or message me on Instagram. I'm super friendly, I promise, and I like helping out artists and sharing my knowledge. I learned a lot of my skills, like, early on, like, in high school and stuff. I was, like, super self-taught, so I was learning everything from YouTube, like, lots and lots of amazing, helpful artists on here. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Linocut's super fun, and actually, like, pretty inexpensive. You kind of just need something to cut with. Some people use just like an X-Acto knife, but my partner got me these tools for like my birthday, I think, a while ago. So yeah, in the video here, I'm just kind of going around the legs now. Also, like, again, thinking about what the negative space is gonna look like there. I'm kind of like considering, like, do I give him little claws? It's like, is that detail going to be like too distracting? Sometimes just like a sharp point down at the bottom might be like not the vibe. I ended up doing like a couple little claws just to, you know, keep the dragonness of it. Yeah, here I am trying to figure out what to do with the front claws because I was really nervous. I didn't want to screw it up because the claws weren't really in the drawing. I was just figuring it out. Yeah, also, like, during this, I'm just, like, listening to, like, a How to Train Your Dragon playlist. What do you listen to while you work? Comment that, too. Give me recommendations. I really like listening to music, and sometimes, if I'm just, like, coloring or something and I don't have to think too hard, I like listening to Welcome to Night Vale. Can't really handle a podcast that's more complex than that. Sometimes I listen to Creative Block on YouTube. They just like interview like people in the animation industry and like illustrators and stuff, and it's really cool hearing from like artists who have kind of like made it and seeing how similar all of our journeys are, about, doing art as a kid and, how we all got here. It's really interesting. And dusting away all my little rubber shavings. Okay, I don't even know what part I'm doing now because my hair's in the way. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I think I'm doing the back edge of the wing. I kind of like left it because I was nervous about it, but it worked out. Yeah, sometimes the little shavings get like stuck to the block, so sometimes if you see me like shaking it or tapping it or something, I'm just like getting the shavings off. And here I am, I'm just kind of like winging some extra little markings to help with the, like what I was saying about you don't have line work, so I'm trying to like separate some forms from each other so that you could see that there's like a change in between those two things, like the wing and the like bottom of the body here. Okay, and then I start going in and I'm keeping the little like smallest, pointiest little knife on right now. Just kind of going back around everything and giving it like, I'm cleaning out the negative space. And like, you could go in with a bigger, like one size up tool, but I found that sometimes when there's like lots of like little areas or like tight corners, sometimes I'll slip and make a cut that kind of messes it up if I have like a big knife and I'm trying to get in those little areas. So I'm sticking with the little one for now, and I'm going in and just kind of cutting it up, cleaning it all out. I try to do my best to just like not leave too much texture in the negative space. Some people really, really like that, and I think it looks cool. It's just not my style for lino, because I'm generally making like a stamp that's supposed to stand alone as its own silhouette. But like if you're making like a shape that's like within a frame or something, or you just want like, I don't know, just more texture and stuff around it, you can really make these wider cuts that leave lines behind in raised area. There's a term for it. I don't know what it is, but it looks really cool. It's just not what I'm going for most often. So I try to be pretty tight with when I'm cleaning it out. Yeah, it just helps too, because then like when you go in with the bigger tool, you don't have to get too close to your design and worry about slipping. You just have like a smoother thing to work around. So yeah, I'm just getting in all the nooks and crannies, all these little curves and spikes. And also like, do your best, but you don't have to be too like worried about this part, because you can always do another pass. Which I usually do like 2 or 3 passes at least at the end to tighten things up. Because if you're not going for a really textured look, sometimes if you have some like areas that are just kind of like random lines, it stands out. It's like, it looks more like a mistake than it does texture sometimes. So that's why I do a lot of passes at the end. You'll see me doing that. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed there, but yeah, I'm like cutting like pretty deep sometimes, which this tool, this thin one, is not really good for that. Like if you want to do deeper cuts, you should switch to maybe a bigger tool. Because then this like little one, it kind of gets like stuck, and then it'll like rip a big piece off, and like, yeah, that's messy. That's gonna lead to mistakes if you're just like exploding out of the rubber like that. It's happened to me. Learn from my mistakes. Be gentle. You don't have to cut so deep, you know, like some of the like thinner lines that I added, like on the wing and like on the body and stuff, like they're pretty shallow and they still show up when you print. So yeah. But yeah, I guess a little about the stamp. It's pretty big. Let me see how many inches it is. It's like 4 inches by like 2¼ inches, which is pretty big. I generally make my stamps at least 1 inch by 1 inch. You could probably go smaller, but at some point, like this tool is not like tiny enough to get any details. I've tried doing some like really, really tiny ones. I did some really, really tiny ones that I stamped onto like Valentine's Day cards. And then I was doing some slightly bigger but still really tiny ones, and those were a struggle. I was like not able to get any detail on that. Okay, here I am. I'm switching to the bigger knife. I'm starting to go around it. I'm still careful, but I don't have to be as careful because I spent the time going around with the little knife like closer to the art. So now I'm just kind of like deepening that area and going around it and cleaning it up. And it's really satisfying, like tearing off these big pieces. Oh yeah, well that was a mistake. Don't go that hard. But yeah, I'm just going around it. I think I'm gonna grab my X-Acto knife in a minute. I'm recording this afterwards, my voiceover afterwards, by the way, so that's why, I don't know, that's why this is the way that it is. I'm gonna have to put music over this or something because these like awkward lulls. I don't know what to talk about. I guess like comment some questions that you have and maybe I'll talk about it in another one during these quiet times. Oh yeah, here I take the X-Acto knife and I'm just going in. I'm mostly using the ridge that I just made with the bigger knife as like a guide to cut. And also because that area is thinner, because I already cut it, it's like very easy to glide the knife through without having to fight too hard, you know. Sometimes I'm cutting towards myself. Don't do that as a bad habit. It's not safe. You're supposed to cut away from yourself when you're using X-Acto knives and box cutters and stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of going around most of the stamp, and then I'm gonna end up going around the rest of it in a little bit too. But oh, it's so cute now, like with the silhouette cleaned out. Love it. You can get even like closer to your stamp and have like a really tight like edge, but you also don't have to. And it's a lot of work sometimes, so I don't do it. I used to leave it just kind of as a square, but this is just like a little easier to clean up, because if you leave it as a square, you have to go in and like clean out all of the negative space. and you know, like I said before, I don't like having any like extra little texture sticking out, so that's kind of like a pain to make sure it's like super neat. But if you want a lot of texture, just keep it a square and just like go ham, and you'll have like tons of these delicious little lines to decorate all the space around your art. Yeah, I'm cutting along the tail area. See that I'm leaving it still thick though between the tail and the wing, because if I really got in there and cut that up, it might lose some of its like structural integrity. And I still want my stamp to be easy to use. Cutting out this little triangle isn't, you know, causing any harm, so doing that a little bit. Also, I guess if you're kind of debating on like whether or not you should hollow out an area and have it and kind of like create line work by like cleaning out the middle of the design and just leaving like an edge that is the stamp. If you're unsure if you want that or not, just like don't hollow it out yet and just kind of see how it stamps. And then you could always go back in after the fact and trace around the inside of the shape and then clean it all out, and then you'll have like a line work, kind of what is going on his tail on the like prosthetic part. I like left this line, which is like the outline. I usually do that for a lot of my stamps that aren't like an all dark character. All of my like rubber shavings over here on the side. Toothless looking super cute. I get some paper and I have to move all of this stuff out of the way. I get my ink pad. This one is pretty good because it's huge, but it's also kind of like drying out a little now. I've used it a lot, so I'm kind of like wrestling with it every time I use it these days, because I'm like, please saturate my stamp with ink. Yeah, definitely getting a lot of ink on there. You don't want too little ink because then it won't stamp. I bring out my little roller that came with my kit. You're really supposed to use this for like applying the ink when you have like a more paint-like ink, but that's a little messy and difficult, especially when I'm just like making the stamp and I'm not making legit prints. It's better for me to just use a stamp pad, because then my stamp's not like covered in like wet paint and I can do adjustments. So here I notice that I do the stamp and his eye is not very round on one side, and Toothless has these like big round baby boy eyes. So I'm going in very anxiously and trying to fix his eye. Not yet. I was like, pose for a photo first. I'm going in and I'm going to fix his eye. This is always super nervous because it's like, I don't want to mess it up. Especially after the stamp is like almost done and you're like, no, I don't want to ruin it all right now by totally screwing up his eye. I'm still not like, you know, it's fine. But I'm not 100% happy with how the eyes came out. I'm like 85% happy. But you can't really tell. You'll see. It is better than this though. This is like super messed up and like asymmetrical. One is like round on the bottom and one is round on the top. That's the thing with this. Like, these little details is really tough to get sometimes because the knife is really big. I think I can get one that's like a size smaller, and maybe I will one day, but I don't want to spend the money. So I'm doing my best. And yeah, I'm kind of going around and I'm trimming all these like extra, you could see there, the little extra lines that came. Yeah, I'm like pointing them out. I'm like, boom. The ones by his little frills. I don't even know what these are called. His little face, cheek things. When I was like doing the carving, I was like, I'm going to play this at like 5 times the speed. So like sometimes I'll be like pointing for a little bit at the mistake areas, just so that like if this was going at 5 times speed, maybe people could follow what I was thinking. But then I was like, no, wouldn't it be cool if I did a voiceover? Wouldn't that be so cool? So that's what I ended up doing. Okay, round 2. Let's see how it comes out. Ta-da! Oh, there's still marks everywhere. Doesn't look too bad though. Honestly, you could stop here. The eyes are pretty much fixed. You could definitely just stop here. But I'm crazy, so I'm gonna keep going. The debate. I'm like thinking. I'm like, do I do it? Do I clean it up more? Yes. Oh my god. Okay. Oh yeah, do you see my little sketch? Isn't it cute? I like the sketch. Yeah, here I am. I'm like pointing it out. I'm like, right there. That's what I'm doing. Also, like, if you see me like tapping my little tool against the table, it's because the little shavings get like stuck in the tool and it's just hard to get out. So I'm just like, get out. This isn't like super interesting, this part, because I'm just cleaning it up. So yeah, I guess I'll just say thank you for sticking around the whole time. I don't blame you if you played this video at double speed and made me sound like a chipmunk. Yeah, just thanks for watching. Maybe I'll make some more of these. I want to make some videos talking about making comics and just drawing in general, like figure drawing and stuff, and how to draw people with your mind palace, like without reference. No shame in using reference. Love reference. Definitely you should use it. But I often don't use it, at least for drawing people. I don't really need to anymore. So I'll give you some tips on that. If you look out for more videos, I'll probably talk about that. And yeah, whatever you guys want, I guess. I have a Patreon if you want to see behind the scenes artwork, comics that I don't post, get a discount code for my Etsy shop. If you join my Patreon. I want enough people to join my Patreon that I could do cool stuff, like do sketch requests and send out stickers and stuff. That would be really cool. Yeah, I'm just cleaning up the edge of this thing a little more. You can see it's almost there. This stamp was kind of cool because the ink kind of like looks really splotchy and it kind of looks like his scales on his face. That's the thing about buying this cheaper carving medium. It kind of doesn't like absorb the ink as well. So sometimes you get like a splotchier texture because it's kind of just, I don't know, it's like not as good, but you get what you pay for. I'm just like burning through a ton of rubber, so I just got the cheaper one. That's that. Yeah, showing it off a little bit. Toothless. I think this is the last stamp. I think I was like, this is it. Ta-da! Yay! Alright. Thanks for sticking around, guys.